Welcome back to Star Wars Toys TV, guys. It's been a while since I posted a video, but check it out. It's the 172 Millennium Falcon. Let's take a look at it compared to my X-Wing that Bandai also does. And, this is a pretty decent sized box, but check it out, guys. Wow, look at the size of that Millennium Falcon box. The pieces, my gosh, I have to admit, this is probably the most complicated model we have put together so far. Almost 700 individual pieces, plastic pieces, almost 300 decals. Took a lot of planning, a lot of thinking through, but let's see what we got. Going to start off with the cockpit figures. These guys are really, really tiny. Takes a lot of sort of fine painting and really adjusting. I'm not going to sort of post any videos of me actually painting these guys. There's C-3PO. I have to paint him gold. The cockpit seats and the weathering, but just take your time, and you can see the scale of these things compared to everything else. They're pretty tiny, so just take your time getting in there with really fine brushes, and don't worry about like facial expressions and eyes, because you can't really see it when they're that small, but you'll see. This is how mine turned out, along with all the buttons and the back panel. There are two little cutouts for LEDs. You'll see them a little later on in the video. That's a decal. That was kind of fussy and tricky to put on, but everything else in there I painted on, including the buttons. I did that with sort of like a dry brush, and you really lightly go over the buttons, and the gray sort of pops up, and the I guess dashboard, that again is painted instead of putting the decals on there. The decals are really, really tough to get on, especially with those buttons that are raised. Now we're moving on to some of the bigger parts. You can see how detailed Bandai got with this perfect grade Millennium Falcon. It was really, really crazy how detailed some of the pieces were. Look at the side pods. Those individual pipes, some of those pieces, those were all individual pieces. Really tough to cut out, really, really fragile. And you got to put them in the right order or they won't pop into place. So some of them overlap, some of them go under, over, and in the end, I didn't make any mistakes, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Let's move on to some other detailed shots. These are sort of like the air locks on the side. You can see how many, those definitely you have to put in the pieces in the right order. You're going to have some trouble. Those are some pieces from the underside of the hull. Look at the detail on these guys. It's crazy. So I'm just going to let the video play for a little while. I will jump back in at the end. I hope you guys enjoy. Comment below. Let me know what I can do better, what I can do worse. In any grade, this model is incredible. I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. It is really like one of the hardest things I've ever put together. But I had an awesome time doing it, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching. this is the only piece of the interior that you get to see. It's a little portion of the hallway. Really tricky to paint and weather. I think I got it spot on. I got it the way I like. But the only way you get to see this is if you swap out one of the parts and put in the ramp. But pretty cool. So check out how small some of these parts are. My gosh. And there are a lot of them. So it's really tricky to cut out. Really tricky not to lose them. But yeah, I mean, the detail is insane. And, that's just the way it is over and over and over again with the exterior of the Millennium Falcon. But that's the way she was. And they stayed true to the original model. And all of these parts are replicas or reissues of original Bandai or Tamiya parts, and I think Bandai did a really good job with sort of damage parts on the Falcon. Also, some of my parts all laid out, trying to stay organized. You definitely don't want to put any of these things in order the wrong place. The tough part was the painting in sequence. The instructions go in a certain order, but if you put the parts together, you won't be able to get to it with an airbrush or weathering. So you kind of have to keep going back and forth, and keeping everything in order. But that's where I am so far with the build. So this is called a black and white technique. What you do is you airbrush all the seams and all the joints with black before you put the hull color down, and this is what it looks like. After you put the hull color down in thin coats, you can see how it sort of makes it look older towards the seams and not even and too fresh out of the factory, and that's the effect that I was looking for, and it turned out pretty nice. So moving on to the weathering part, you can see some of the panels I've painted in. This is what I've done as far as the weathering, and what you do is you get the Tamiya panel line accent color, which is right there. You put down little dots on where you want the drip marks to start. Then with a sort of a thick brush, you really pull those colors down. Try them on other parts before you go for it on your big Millennium Falcon. A lot of people don't know, but they use the original decals so authentically. Like, you found Valvoline, Champion. There was a Die Hard decal on there, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, so moving on to the weathering part, you take a sponge, and then again with some of the body color, after you put the darker gray on there, you just really, really lightly pat it down, and then it makes it look like it's chipping away. And you do that with the original body color that you have an extra sort of stash for. So one thing about the weathering, when you're weathering the underside, make sure the drips are going in the opposite direction. Gravity pulls the water the other way. Well, there she is, the 172nd Bandai Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon. It took us a lot of time, but it was fun. Let me tell you, it was one of the more satisfying models we've ever put together from Bandai. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, share with your friends, watch it over and over again. And may the force be with you guys. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.